Hey, everybody, and welcome to Hashtag Actolife. I'm your host, John Rosenfeld. Boy, do we have a good one today. Hannah Pilkes has been a dear client of mine for many years and is currently filming her first series regular on Netflix's multicam comedy, Leanne, a Chuck Lorre show featuring Leanne Morgan, Kristen Johnson, Graham Rogers, and Ryan Stiles. It is impossible not to root for her. She is a good human and a creative through and through. Success was always coming her way. We just didn't know in what form it would come. She speaks so beautifully about this journey that she's still on. It was an incredibly fulfilling conversation. Get ready for some inspiration from Hannah. How amazing is it that I am sitting down with you? Hannah!
Hi.
Hi!
We were just trying to recall when we started together.
Right.
And it's like a decade of my life. Like, it's crazy. I was a hurricane.
I'll never forget when you came in because you were just this, oh my God, this so much energy, so much movement.
That tracks. I do want to say today when I walked in, I knocked over a stand and
You
almost
did knock
the camera.
over a stand. I heard a and I was like, Hannah's here.
I'm here.
Hannah's here. Wait, but let's tell the audience.
Yeah.
When you came to me,
Yeah.
you were there for like a really brief time and like truly you bolted.
I was so
You
spooked.
bolted. Like I was like, wait, hold on. I was like excited by you.
Yeah.
I was excited. I was like, you get, listen, I love teaching.
Yeah.
But there's a second, every once in a while you just get this person where you're like, I like this is really, there's something really special happening here. But
I was like, there was a criticism. I mean, any criticism at that point was like, because I was a child actor. So I think coming from that, I had so much like trauma of like, I don't want to ever go back to training or teaching. And then I think it was you do the consult before Tool Shop and we did like a comedy scene and I read it really serious and you said, I don't know what genre that was. And I remember being like, genre? Like truly so out of my depths. And I think I was just so spooked by like looking at acting and God forbid being told that I was maybe missing the mark or it was just really scary.
I mean,
think,
this
at the
is
time.
like a long time ago.
I was like 24, I want to say.
So you were like it was not long after you had graduated from.
I never finished. I never,
You never finished.
no degree, yeah. So, but came out here and did Second City and did like almost immediately just started working and trying to train in comedy out here, but not in acting.
That's really interesting. I've had this with a number of my clients who work all the time who did not finish school.
Yeah.
Or did not go to school.
Yeah.
And did you ever carry that around? Like, what? I never finished or not at all?
Every day.
You did?
Like even working now on the show, my number one thing in therapy is like, hey, you didn't bail. Like you're showing up at rehearsal, you're doing the things, you are a good student now. But I think I have this mentality of, well, I didn't finish then and I wasn't a great student in high school. I was such an alternative learner, really ADD, shocking. but I think in hindsight that really followed me. And even though I'm a hard worker now, it's like still defeating that voice.
But there's this bullshit stigma attached to not having gone to school.
Drama school.
Matt Damon left Harvard.
Wow.
After what, a year, 2 years, I believe. And like Russell Crowe never went to. He never took an acting class. He's never taken an acting class.
Wild.
He's been on set since he was 6. Christian Bale's been on set since he was 6.
Right.
Some of us have the privilege of learning on the job.
Right.
I needed graduate school.
Right.
Because I had not been on set. It never even occurred to me. Like it wasn't part of my the way I was operating or thinking.
I think in hindsight, because we were talking about this, I started on Vine when I was like 18 years old, around the time of college.
While you were in college, yeah.
Yeah, and then very quickly left, moved to LA, and was like, I was so afraid of debt as well. I had such little financial literacy that I was like, I'd rather just pay off classes as I go. So I did like UCLA extension for screenwriting out here, and I did Second City, and had pennies to my name, but at least I didn't have like $80,000 of debt. Like because I started as a child actor, I had one of those crazy stories where it was my first audition ever, and I just happened to get this Kevin Bacon movie when I was 11 in 2004, and then The Woodsman. And then it went to Sundance, and then I got nominated for an Independent Spirit Award. And in my head, I was like, this is what the industry is. You show up, you look at a paper, and you get it, you know?
I did not know you got nominated for an Independent Spirit Award.
It's not an award anymore, Best Debut Performance. Okay. And I remember I was devastated because they cut, what's his name from Motorcycle Diaries? Gael.
Oh, Gael.
Gael, yes, he won.
Okay.
But he couldn't make it to the award, so they cut the whole from the televised version. They cut it, and I was
gotta be shitting me.
But I did get to go to the Spirit Awards, and I went up to Jodie Foster, and I was like, "We were both kid actors." She's like, "Okay." Truly, like, could not be bothered. But I think because from very early on, I was so clear that I wanted to act. My mom was like, well, then go act, go do it, you know? And I get it. We don't have money. Like, it's a lot of money to spend without a guarantee at the end of it. So why don't you go, like, charge your own path and train in LA?
So at 18, Vine. What was your first Vine? That's 8 seconds. That used to be 8 seconds, right?
6.7. Oh my God, it's so cringe. You could look up all the Vines I did for 3 years and it would be 30 minutes of material total. But what I will say, it trained me in
storytelling.
Being expressive, quickly getting an idea out. The irony was I was doing Groundlings at the same time, and I went to Groundlings, and they're like, you can't just think in vines, Hannah. You need to live in the character, because I knew how to do, like, a character for 6 seconds, and then I was like, I don't know what to do now. But I will say the two working together, it was like, I did Second City Conservatory when I was 19, was probably drunk through the whole thing, but still was like, I love this. I love collaboration. I love improv. Then I did Groundlings. Then I was doing Vine all at the same time. And Vine was how I paid for my life because I was able to do, like, branded Vines. And that was crazy because you'd make, like, a 6-second tampon commercial, but it's 6 seconds. But it would take hours and hours. It would almost take more time to try to make a Vine than if you could make 30-second commercials.
Just so I know how that, I'm very naive with how this works. Does the tampon company contact you and say, make a Vine?
It's like some weird ad agency that's like, hey, we're from Verve Marketing on behalf of blank company, and we'd love to hire you to work for. And looking back, I'm sure that I got shortchanged. I didn't know what that meant, though. To make $500 at the time was like...
And what was your 8-second Vine on a tampon?
Can't even remember. It's just, like, probably me, like, crazy, right? Like, I don't know, just doing, like, a funny face and me being like, we need them. But looking back, I did Macy's, Nordstrom, so many branded Vines.
I am a little uncomfortable that's an 18-year-old doing a Vine on tampons.
I was 18.
I know, but still, I mean, it just feels a little weird.
Now it's like, now if you look at TikTok, like, my friend's daughter who's, like, 11, that makes me uncomfortable, how these hot girl dances with the belly shirts and that makes me feel weird. I'm like, me and my friend were making music videos in our room, but they were very wholesome. We were just like, you know, like with our Rugrats shirts on. It's very different now. At least when I was 18, I was making cringe Vines in wigs. There was no innuendo. There was no, you know, it was just, I was a Muppet, but 18, and with no real clearly defined voice yet. I mean, the gift of Vine is that it was chaos, so I could just throw shit at the wall and be like, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? And I think it at least introduced me to building an internet presence early on, which I think has been a really valuable tool ever since, and I think has helped me so much.
I really want to get into that because I think, you know, let's going back to me meeting you when you're 24, having already... You had just made it such a habit between the Vine and I don't know, when did you start getting into, were you using Facebook at some point? I'm sure your Facebook is you're using Facebook, and then Facebook kind of segued into Instagram becoming the more popular thing, and TikTok and all that stuff. Yeah. But you have, I believe it was 140,000 followers on Instagram. Yeah. But your content, there's a real 140,000, there's a not real 140,000. And I will say that your 140,000 is real. I was watching, I mean, the amount of views and likes. I mean, you speak to people, you are the biggest dork thank you. In the greatest way. Yeah. And I want to say, it's interesting. My son, I call him a dork sometimes. Well, I remember years ago, I said, "You're such a dork." He's like, "No, I'm not, Dad." I go, "I'm a dork."
Yes,
You're a dork."
please. We all need to be dorks.
That just means vulnerable. You allow
Yeah.
people to see you.
Yes, yeah.
And I said, maybe I apologize if that term has negative connotations to you and your environment. To
Yeah.
me, it's the greatest compliment in the world.
If a kid, to me, not only a sense of humor, but there's freedom, to me, I'm like, that's the best indication that kid's on a really beautiful track for life, is if they feel like they can freely express themselves and be a dork. It's like, that's all I want to do is be the dork I was when I was 11. And I do feel like having comedy and the internet has helped me retain that, because it's a place to it's a blank canvas. And I think,
wasn't it great to be rewarded for something you love doing?
yes, especially when you're auditioning and you're grinding it out. And the reality is, I have done this since I was a kid. So to have a place that rendered any form of success while I was trying to make whatever bigger thing happen was so gratifying, and also really helped me to hone in on, oh, these are the things people respond to. This is what I really respond to. I love physical comedy. I love observational comedy. I love heightened scenarios. I love, millennial characters that can be like zeroing in on an unlikable part of somebody and exploring that. But I don't think auditions or just being out here was giving me that. I think it was my own little thing, my own little vessel.
No, I think if you really think about it, it's like, Russell Crowe being on set since he was a little kid, or Jason Bateman being on set, Jodie Foster being on set. You ultimately have to teach yourself.
Yeah.
You're learning, but also finding out what's working, finding out where your sweet spot. The science behind it is just you learning what pops in your being, what's bringing you alive. And I think for you, you've been just, that's just been your habit of just doing, and then you start to find what works, but also it mirrors what feels good.
Yeah.
But I think that is where you ran into a wall when you came to the studio too.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden we're saying you're doing what feels good to you.
Yes.
Now there are certain rules that need to be followed.
Totally.
And that, I think you took that as I'm bad or I'm wrong.
Absolutely. And it was a reining in of I think especially if you're school averse in any way, and if you've had a weird relationship with school and being a student, being a creator online, there's no parameters. It's like kind of a free for all. And then having to rein it in felt so exposing. The idea that there were parameters I was so afraid that I wouldn't know how to color within those lines, that it was like, well, I got to bolt. Then maybe I'm better off just doing my own thing. And I think sometimes you'll see that where it's like, but they're two separate things, and learning how to exist in these different worlds. I didn't know how to do it, but I think continues to be frightening. One of my hardest things for me is rehearsal, and it's being perceived because you might get it wrong. It's like, you've seen me break down in class so many times because, God forbid, I haven't gotten it right the first time. And I think the funny thing about coming up online is you can edit around all that. You get to present a version of yourself that you don't have to rehearse for it. You can riff. And so there's a really different level of vulnerability required to be in a class, do a West Wing scene, get it wrong, and then have to do it again and be like, well, we got to play within these parameters. That felt really foreign and uncomfortable to me.
I think this is really important for people to see and listen to, because I think when people watch you and they see the level of bravery that you have in front of a camera, right? And that you are willing to just make a complete fool of yourself for the sake of, it's like Carol Burnett and Madeline
Totally,
Kahn,
that's like my number one.
and Molly Shannon, and all these people who, do you like all those people?
Those are my two. It's literally Carol Burnett and Molly Shannon are like my North Star. Yeah.
The level of bravery that they have to do that, it's hard to reconcile the fact that, and like you, that you can also be enormously hard on yourself and not allow yourself to fail, when while we're watching those videos, you're the person that's literally willing to do fucking anything for the moment.
Totally.
For the bit.
Totally. Oh my gosh. I've absolutely hurt myself just flailing on stage because I maybe got a slightly bigger laugh.
Right.
Like lower back
Well,
problems.
didn't Chevy Chase screw up his back.
And Molly Shannon,
and Molly
covered in bruises, had
Covered
like
in
broken
bruises.
ribs from playing Mary Catherine Gallagher. And boy, do I get it. I would throw my face into a chair if it meant that I would get a laugh. But totally, I mean, I think that my biggest obstacle has always been that really, really unkind voice inside that is like, bail, run away, it's not worth it. I would sit in the car and wouldn't go to classes at Second City for fear of failure. So it's even here, there were classes that I would park and I wouldn't come in. And then I got to a point where it was like I felt so safe. I had people around me that loved me. I felt loved here. I felt taken care of. I felt seen. And then I started to feel breakthroughs, but it was so uncomfortable and continues to be. I would come back to class and I would always do this. I'd do it once and be like, you know what? I think I got what I need. I am going to head out. Like I would sort of declare that I was leaving. I've done that multiple times.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, hey, what if we do it again? And okay.
Do the scene again.
Yeah,
what if we
do the scene again? God forbid. But
I mean, you could either jump off the building or you could do the scene again.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, and all my characters, I have a Woman on the Verge character. I'm like, that's my internal voice that truly is hanging by a thread and wants to bail at all times and at all moments. And really, what live comedy gifted me is like, you walk through it. If you can be that fearless there, you can be fearless in other places, you know.
I so understand who you married even more from this conversation.
My balanced, wonderful
Oh my
human.
God, he is the most balanced,
Yes.
steady.
Oh, yeah. You
Yeah,
need it. You
need it.
If I always say if I married a me, I don't know if me would be here right now. It's
Yes.
it's just horrifying. But I know what I offer Greg and I know what they offer me, and but the grounding and someone that really sees you and goes like, hey, because I would do live shows, text them during and be like, hey, that was a bust. You can leave if you want and wait for me outside. I mean, crazy stuff. And they'd be like, are we at different shows? And so that's been a big thing over the years is you have to have a more realistic understanding of your own work because no matter what, it was just so ferocious and it's gotten a lot better. I think actually like teaching to people, teaching like how to build a character or how to like make a performance piece for yourself has been really helpful because you realize everybody's got whatever little voice and they're just trying to conquer that, you know.
Let's cut. We're going to cut to now and then go right back because I do want to say. So right now, what a tremendous fucking win. You booked a series regular on a show. It's still called Leanne.
Yeah.
It's still called Leanne, starring Leanne Morgan and Kristen
Johnston.
What's that?
Kristen
Johnson. And I mean, an amazing cast.
Crazy. Brian Stiles, Celia Weston. I mean, it's Brian,
And Chuck Lorre. I mean, come on. Chuck Lorre.
Crazy. Yeah.
Perhaps the biggest hit maker in he's Norman Lear on steroids.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And let's go back. When Chuck Lorre was vetting you, he watched your social media. Yeah,
I mean, it was so cool because the way it worked was a Zoom audition, and then instead of a traditional callback, the next week was meeting with Nick Bakay and Susan McMartin, the showrunners, and Chuck in his office, and it was just kind of a getting to know you chat. And that's when they told me that they'd watched shorts, they'd gotten to see my videos, they'd heard about Edinburgh. And then you realize when you say yes to all these things along the way, sure, it's for your career, but it's for your joy. It's so that you can keep acting as you're waiting for the bigger thing, but that it all culminates in something and it's all for something, you know, and that it's all worthwhile. I think I've invalidated so much of what I've done over the years because it didn't get into X festival or because it didn't get in front of this person. And then looking back and in that room, it felt like this full circle moment of everything I've done has culminated in this.
But I don't believe you would have gotten that show.
Yeah.
Had you not done.
I don't think so.
The Vine, the Facebook, the Instagram, the videos, it wouldn't have been there because there wouldn't have been evidence of history that you've had. Mm-hmm. You actually had in a gorgeous portfolio of like, look, I didn't just appear out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I've been putting in all this work every day. And the one thing is you did a lot of that for free for a lot of years.
Yes.
For free.
Yeah.
A lot of years.
I mean.
And then, but it turned out to actually pay something.
Well, and what's so cool about like in a series regular in a comedy is in season 1 they're very much finding the character as well. So to have a frame of reference of, oh, okay, you can play messy, or like you like these kind of drunk or manic characters, great. I think that was exciting to them and me as well, is that the two can coalesce and show up, throughout the season. And so that's been cool to be like, oh, I have this to look at. Oh, she can do this, great. Let's try to write to that. That's been such a gift that I don't think I considered. I was just doing this all these years because, God, I needed to express myself somehow.
Yeah.
And I needed a place. And it is a resume. It's a digital resume that you have no matter what, that I know has gotten me reps and auditions before I got this.
Well, I have 2 things.
Yeah.
One, we had Stephen Kruger on last week, and he talked about how I had said something to him in 2012 when he kept on getting close to things. And he said he thought it was full of shit until he realized, oh, wait, no, this is true. When I said booking a job is a mistake, meaning that you may be right for it, so right for it, but like to be the one who's chosen, it means a whole bunch of things had to fall in your favor.
Yeah.
There's a reason you might not get it. You're too tall, you're too short,
Totally.
you're too whatever. And this particular thing, God did everything line up.
Yes.
Like, Leanne Morgan.
Yeah.
I can't not watch her on interviews. She's just so dynamic and organically funny.
Yes.
There's nothing put on.
She's a light.
She's just a light.
Yeah.
She seems lovely.
She is. She's amazing.
No, this is the time where you're supposed to really tell us who she is.
There is no tea. She's such a wonderful human. All she says to me and everyone is, "You're just so yummy." She's so
and she
sweet.
means
She's
it.
yummy.
But she's tall as hell.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you have Kristen Johnson.
Taller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually had dinner with her. She will never remember this. It was actually in New York in the 90s.
Oh, my gosh.
She was with her then boyfriend or whatever. And I just remember, she was a very powerful lady.
She's so powerful and commanding and unreal. She's amazing.
And tall.
Yes.
And tall.
It was so crazy to walk into a chemistry read full of these Nordic humans and feel, it's been such an insecurity of mine over the years of like, is this going to be a thing in the way? I'm 5'10" and a half.
Which is a great height.
And I love it in any other circumstance. And now I do love it. But you're also going to try to find a million reasons why you won't get it. I was like, it's my teeth, it's my height.
It is
like,
interesting that you are self-conscious about your height and you married a short man.
Right. I think it just didn't. I think that's never where I felt insecure. It's just with acting, right? You can choose any one reason why it's not working.
So you're thinking about why it's not working.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, 100%.
Oh, I didn't do Invisalign when I was younger. Oh, I'm super tall. Oh, I'm, insert whatever. And I will say this was my reps were like, hey, we got to tell you, it's none of those things. It's just your time will be your time. And I had wonderful reps in that way.
And so now we're going to talk about you and I had a big freaking conversation. What was that? Was it a year ago or a year and a half ago?
It was like a year and a half ago. Yeah, where I was like, I think I'm done kind of thing, right? When you
had come close to some stuff. But it was like an emotional period.
Yeah, it was.
And we had a really, was it in
I think it was on the phone.
It was on the phone.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I remember what I said. Do you remember what I said?
I remember distinctly that you said, I can't tell you when and I can't tell you what, but if you leave, you won't know. But it is not if, it's when. But I really think your 30s are going to be kind to you. I've always known that for you. You would also say to me in class, I don't think it's going to be co-stars. I think just randomly one day it's going to be like, this is the series regular or the big part that's meant for you. But I think it's going to take some time. And that was always, I'm impatient, I'm impulsive, I'm a ball of energy. And I didn't know what to do with that. But I do know that I didn't quit after that. And you also were like, you might live to regret it for your whole life if you leave and you don't know what you could have gotten. I remember that really distinctly. Yeah.
I said, you could quit.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
I go, I don't want it to do this to you. That's what I remember saying.
Yes.
I go, I don't like what it's doing to you mentally. I don't like what it's doing to you physically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, I said, I know what's going to happen. I don't know when. But I also remember saying, it might be this year. It might be three. Our producer left her phone on. And my God.
The industry's calling.
Um, it's Elon Musk. We're fired.
Oh, great. I know. They're cutting all the funding from acting as a profession.
We're all fired. Wait, hold on.
Trump's the head of the Kennedy Center and
we
JRS
gotta go.
now.
We gotta go.
We gotta shut down.
We gotta shut down. We have 4 seconds.
Can only do hymns here now. Heavenly Father.
Please include that in the clip. We have to. No, but I said you. I don't want to see you go through this emotional taxation. But I said, yeah, it will either happen a year. It might happen 4 years from now. I go, I don't know. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And some people might. Another actor might confuse that John's just trying to keep me around, which is just
no. But I've never felt that from you, and I've always appreciated what a realist you are. Even when I was up for this part, and I said that my reps were like, they say I'm the choice. You said, fuck the choice. You're not the choice until you're the choice, and it really helped me to be like, get that out of because the preciousness, you were like, you go in there like it's a Wednesday and you act well. You listen, but you're not going to be perfect. There's no such thing. And you said, you're such a perfectionist. You could sabotage this by trying to be perfect. Just go in and act.
Did that help?
And it helped me so much because, and the gift was, it wasn't one of those formal network tests. It was literally I don't know if I've told you about this whole story when I got it.
Well, we're on a podcast.
Okay,
Let's do it now.
Wait a minute. Hold on. This night. What if I tell you how I got this part?
I'd love it.
No, but you told me that right before I tested, and it turns out I was the only person that tested, which was interesting. So I don't know how that goes. If I hadn't, I'm sure they would have been like, we're going to test these people as well.
Yeah.
But when I went in for the chemistry read, the final, which was the test, I did the first scene, which I had actually coached with Ken Miller the day before, who's cast all of Chuck's shows and is amazing. Truly, I think one of the biggest reasons I got this. He's like a light and a wonderful human and saw me.
He and Nikki gave me a pilot in 2000 early.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been doing it forever. And just so like
Ken, you're old. No.
So anyway, I did the first scene and it did not really play. And then Chuck gave me a note and I did it again and it did not really play. And then he was like, all right, let's move on to scene 2. And I swear it was like I saw all the years of JRS and all the times that I'd wanted to do it again and all the times that I had done it again and had the breakthrough. And I had this moment of like, you have to now fuse all your training and Hannah. Like you have to bring Hannah's essence. So check in with yourself for a minute and do not let this moment pass you by. So we moved on to scene 2 and I was like, hold on. Can we go back to scene 1 and can I take just a minute to sit with these notes and maybe infuse a little bit of me? And I'm so glad I did that because it was also like showing Chuck, hey, I can collaborate. I'm not afraid, And then the scene did so great. And then we moved on to scene 2 and I felt that surge and I felt so dropped in. And then I left the room and they were like, Chuck wants you to come back in to do it again. And I sat down and one of the lines in the scene is, I don't know how to tell you this, but blank. And he was like, I don't know how to tell you this, but welcome aboard. And it was this like crazy, but I felt this moment in there of the fork of, okay, I can move on to scene 2 forever knowing that in all these years of classes, the times that I did bet on myself and did it again, I would have that breakthrough, or I wouldn't, but at least I tried. Or I can take the risk and see what happens but know that no matter what your training is, especially in comedy, you can't lose yourself in it. You can hit all the marks, but if you've lost yourself in it, then you're just hitting all the marks. And there's so many tapes where I hit the marks, but I feel like Hannah was invisible. And finding in that moment, like, what's the fusion of the two where I exist in this no matter what, but I also understand genre. And I also understand that it's multicam. And I also understand that it's Chuck Lorre, but it's still Hannah at the end of the day in there. And it just, I wonder if I would have gotten it if I didn't do that.
It's one of the things that's hard for me as a teacher is that I watch people with tons of experience who just don't know that, who don't know how to embody all these different genres. So they're saying, I just want to be myself. We're like, yeah, but there's still a very specific frequency you have to hit.
Yeah.
And because you've been doing it, in class, you've done so many scenes.
Yeah.
But eventually you start to like, oh, this is in my body.
Right.
So my body can exist in this world in the genre because I have the reps.
Right.
And a Hannah will emerge.
Yes.
If I allow it to.
Yeah.
And, but I will tell you, I do want to talk about that when you told me you're the number one choice. Whenever I hear someone's the top choice, I've been told I was the top choice.
Yeah.
It's really weird that whenever I'm the top choice, I never got it.
Right.
It was always, I had to come from behind and grab it.
Yes.
Because often when you're in the top choice, they have time to get bored by you or
Sure.
like bored, like, but it's like when you already decide what car you want. Like,
Right.
I know what car I want. And then like, that's the car I want. But then you're like, well, just because you know what? I should look around first. And then we almost forget the original thing that made that person so special to us.
Yeah.
Which has nothing to do with like that person not being special.
Right.
It's just all about the way the human operates.
Totally.
It's like whatever you buy.
Right.
Think about this.
Novelty.
When you go shopping on Amazon.
Yeah.
You're like, that's the product I want. You look at one thing, and then you go down and say, what are the other options for this? And they start to go, oh, that's got some good reviews.
And especially when you're, I luckily was on tour in these 2 weeks leading up, but we had that beautiful meeting in the office. This was pre-chemistry read. I had the Zoom with Ken, and then I met in their office the next week. And then it was 2 weeks before. So it was like, yeah, it's 2 weeks to be the choice, and then for them to add more choices to the choice, and for you to be knocked down to the third. Anyway, it was just such a head screw. And I remember talking to you, and it just bringing me back down to like, at the end of the day, it'll be what it'll be, but it can't be like any other day. Ideally, every time I show up for an audition, I try to do my best, and that's all I can do here. Mm-hmm. I also was like, one of the gifts that I stand on is I like who I am as a person, so I thought that's a leg up in that they get to know me, and this is a job where we spend a lot of time together. So I can do my best acting, but I also bank on myself in that this is a nice opportunity for them to get to know me as a person as well. And that the two things are really important,
Yeah.
Not in like but I like me and I like making friends and I love community and collaboration. And I think that was also a big advantage in this was like, we all really got along and connected. And
well, they're hiring also the person who they're going to be on set with, hopefully for many months and years.
Yeah. Which I thought was an interesting thing to have a meeting to just talk about life before the chemistry read. It was sort of like, is she normal? That's the vibe I got. Do we gel? Okay, cool. Now we'll do the final step.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I think people can lose a role that way, particularly when they haven't had a whole bunch of series under their belts.
Yeah.
There's not enough evidence.
Right.
And we just want to see you in the room. And if you're off or insecure or whatever it might be, they can develop their own narrative.
Right. Totally.
And like, I don't know if she's ready.
But the magic to me was I didn't have a series regular under my belt. I hadn't done a recurring before
That's
this.
What I mean.
I had done a couple movies and like I had just recently gotten cut from a movie because they rewrote the script. So it's just, and then this happened. So I don't know. I think what's so cool is that there really isn't rhyme or reason to, a lot of times it can just go this way too. And I think for a lot of my friends that are brilliant and like very much working towards this, like one of my best friends, Allison Moses, is like amazing. And I'm just like, I'm like, you can't, we just have to keep going and you just can't get cynical and we just have to keep staying positive and we just have to keep charging forward because you're brilliant and it's not if, it's when, but it's like, you can't tell someone what the when is. Cause I couldn't have told you that it was going to be this last August for me, but it's so nice that something good happened for me because by proxy to all these brilliant people, I'm like, hey, it can and will happen for everybody else. It's just an odds game, I think. And just continuing to show up and do good work, but keeping your head right as well. Like,
so how challenging now that you've started the show? I remember, you shot the first couple of episodes and obviously everyone was so supportive.
Yeah.
I mean, your cast was so supportive.
Yeah.
Chris and John, everybody.
Yeah.
But like, what kind of head games did that create for you?
Oh, I have an ulcer right now, if that gives you any indication, fully from stress.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it's okay. I think it's important to talk about the fact that you dream about the thing, but you don't dream about the challenges that come with the thing because otherwise it would be impossible to dream in general. Also, why is life worth living if it's not challenging and stimulating and poses a new set of things to conquer? And this has been really challenging. And because you have the tendency to want to take it all personally and make it all about what you're doing wrong, but you also are understanding it's the first season of a show. They're figuring out your character as you go.
And people are stressed because they want to go.
But like we did episode 1, and I remember I was right by Video Village, and they, I overheard them go, the beginning this was my first entrance, my entrance scene. The beginning is wrong, the middle is forced, and we have to rewrite the end. And what is her costume? So I was like, so
You have no control
I'm
over
holding
any
in
of those
sobs.
things.
Yeah, so I go upstairs in the costume, and they're changing my outfit. And she's like, "This is super normal. They're gonna rewrite your character a lot." I'm okay. It just felt like there's nothing in between the beginning and the end. There's nothing that they liked, including what I'm wearing. So, but it's been so many of things like that. But then on the opposite, finding this person, us having a meeting of the minds, them understanding me more, me understanding them more, learning this language, learning that every day is kind of like a network test in sitcom where there's 50 people with clipboards watching you. You kind of have one shot in the run through every day. The joke will get cut. All these things I was afraid of. Preciousness, getting it right, rehearsing in front of people, doing it over and over again. I've had to confront every day. And I will say, I feel it in my life. I did After Midnight the other day, that show that Taylor Tomlinson hosts, and I wasn't afraid at all because I'm like, I have crossed a new threshold. I have been humiliated, elated, overjoyed, uncomfortable, all the things these last 5 months. Culminating in these last couple episodes feeling really dropped in and feeling like I'm starting to really understand who she is, and I think they're starting to understand as well together. The writing's been brilliant throughout. It's a journey. It's a new show. I'm a more tertiary character, and figuring out what her home is in this has been like this,
It is also fascinating that this is kind of the journey of every single multicam ever.
Yeah, which I don't know.
I know, but the reality is it is, and it's daunting, and it's like you got to go through this experience, which will prepare you for your next experience and all of that. But I also think it's really important, like that idea of you getting an ulcer.
Yeah.
No, but I think I've been on a recent, I don't know, and you always go through certain ideas or certain thoughts start to really occur to you or coalesce into something that you really want to talk about. And I think right now what I'm talking about is people accepting that, like your anxiety and your stress, which I have always been able to relate to very well. But it is a part of you. It's a part of me.
Yeah.
It's not something to feel shame about.
Right.
It's something to navigate.
And learn how to manage.
And learn how to manage, not surrender. I will say, speaking of you, it's like, speaking of that, Ken Miller, when I got that show, it was a thing called John Doe. I was just the guest star. I was like the main bad guy of the pilot. But I will say, I was in Vancouver for 3 weeks, and I only shot for like a few days. But I think I drank more alcohol than at any time I'd ever in my life.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I was walking around with this feel of like failing. And then I was on a John Wells show and a recurring where they said I was going to be a series regular, and I felt like I was acting for my life, and I it didn't bring joy. It brought stress.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was going to get fired.
Yeah.
And like all of my insecurities. So I'd love to talk about like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I'm so happy this happened in my 30s. All of my 20s, I was convinced it was over for me because I would Google people's ages and when they got a series regular or when they got a big movie. And I'm like, well, I missed it. So time to pack my bindle and get back to trying to work in insurance. It's like, no. When this job started, I thought to myself, oh my God, if I had gotten this when I was 25, I would fill my mini bar full of alcohol, and I would do that before rehearsals. Or I would be like hyped up on Adderall all the time. And yes, I gave myself an ulcer from stress now, but I have been doubling down in therapy. I've like brought Mary Oliver poems. I walk around the lot. I've found music that helps stimulate me. I found fun, joyful. I made my dressing room like an oasis of Jim Henson things and put stuff on the wall and made it whimsical. And even though I'm stressed, I haven't bailed on myself and I haven't self-sabotaged. And that doesn't mean I haven't had nightmares about it. And that doesn't mean that I haven't been, kind of paralyzed at moments of like, how do I bring myself to this when I just want to get it right and I just don't want to get fired? But it has gotten easier and easier. And I think it's because I've actually explored coping skills. And I don't think I could have done that 10 years ago, you know?
it's hard. It takes age
Yes.
to
Yeah.
actually become familiar enough with the way that you operate so that you're not shocked by it every fucking time.
Right.
Or that even you take yourself so seriously to where you think all your thoughts are real.
Exactly. And really I always say this, I'm like, it's not that deep and you're just one person and you're not that important. And none of us are. And nothing's that, and it's a sitcom and it's not open heart surgery and it's wonderful and it's levity and humor and comedy heal the world. And at the end of the day, even open heart surgery, we're all just one person. And it's, nothing is that heavy as it is in my brain.
What time of the day do you have your craziest thoughts?
I am a crazy sleeper. I will get up and eat in my sleep. I do crazy stuff in my sleep. Greg said the other day, I sat upright in my sleep, legs crossed like this, and said full volume. The thing about sketch comedy is an art form. And then Greg went, hey, and I went, oh, sorry, are we being too loud? Of course you can use our bathroom. I mean, I have full conversations with myself. I go through full arcs. The other day I was looking for my earring on set in my sleep. I have to find this. They're going to be so upset. And then I went to bed. I lied down and I said, I just want to feel like I can be me here. I'm so tired of being exhausted. And then I fell asleep. Like crazy. So that's where it happens, is in my unconscious brain.
I was really not expecting that question to elicit that answer.
What? You're not eating cheese in your sleep and frying an egg and talking about mortality?
Well, I also don't sleep with you, so I'm never there for it. So
Sweet Greg. I think the biggest times are right before something, like right before rehearsal, first thing in the morning and like end of the night. Is the stewing thinking.
Have you gotten to that place? Like I know, like I'm on this nutrition thing where like my brain goes crazy at 11:15. I have
at night?
Yeah. 11:30. Like
Yeah.
I like start to be like the world's ending. But at least I have the perspective like, oh, it's what I'm doing with my body right now that it's eliciting in it. And then I just don't take it seriously at all. And then I just have tea and I do something that just brings me a little bit of joy and they just go away. So it's a fleeting sensation.
I used to do mushrooms for that reason, like medicinally, like a couple times a year, because it really like what they make you do is the thought just passes. And then it was
Are you
like, well, I
talking
need
like
to figure
full
out.
mushroom or
Yeah, I
micro
would
dose?
do like a full mushroom trip in
We
like
are
a
not
forest.
endorsing this.
No, but what I realized is I was like, that's not sustainable. So I need to figure out.
Unless you have like a mushroom farm.
Sure. My psilocybin farm. No, but I think
right here we have it.
Wait, here we go. And we don't endorse it, but I will say, having that experience, I was like, I have to learn how to let thoughts go. Like what it showed me was how tightly I grip to bad thoughts and bad thinking and have all or nothing thinking. And if I have a great week, but one scene goes weird, it's the one scene went weird and all of it is obliterated, the rest of it. And that's not sustainable. I truly checked in with myself one day and I go, if this is what it's going to be, then literally why did you choose this? Because you're doing your dream and you're missing it.
I think for you, one of the, you in class were such an incredibly generous classmate when it just came to like being present for people. But I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, one of the things that
I don't give a shit about anyone in my class. I'm just kidding. I love.
I know
my
that's
class.
not true.
I love everybody.
But I think what helped you, what was so therapeutic for you, was to witness everybody else's struggles.
Yes.
Is to hear just what they had, their day, their thoughts, and in class we do where people talk. We it's not therapy, but it's like let's discuss whatever's getting in your way, and let's work through them. And it just made you feel like you were not on an island, with your thinking or what was happening to you.
It's so isolating.
And I would watch you cry a lot at other people's stories.
Totally, I would sob. There's because I would feel seen and recognized, and also understand that we're all connected in this. And even being on the show and remembering that we're all human beings, like Kristen. I had a really hard time in episode 2 where they cut all my lines and put my head in a toilet bowl, and it was really tricky because they were just navigating and finding it. But she turned to me and she's like, it's you will dazzle, but it's fucking hard when you wait for the job. It's hard in between the jobs. It's hard during the job, and it's hard to be human. But like, you'll figure this out, And it was like that's how I felt in class for years. Is like, it's so hard and it's also so amazing. And if we can all just share in this experience and normalize that it's hard, it's also just hard to be be like, I had a loss and I have to go audition. I can't pay my rent and I have to go figure out how to do a self-tape when I don't know what next month looks like. And yet everyone's doing it and everyone's making magic in between the throes of life's insanities, you
But
know?
you also, I mean, I remember so much. You were going, sometimes you'd have to bolt early from class because you had to do your improv show. You're doing your one, and you were doing your one-person show. The one thing you weren't was fucking lazy.
That's true.
And the one thing is, like Stephen was talking about, is like actors are lazy. And I think what that means, but that just means how much work are you actually putting towards creativity?
Sure.
And if you are only putting an hour towards your career,
Right.
and it doesn't mean for class, but it's like, are you getting up on stage? Are you actually writing? Are you doing this? And
I mean, the gift of comedians is that there is always something you can be doing.
There's always something you can be doing, which even makes it more, if you're not a comedian, it makes it, I still think that the person who's not a comedian needs to really analyze how many hours that comedian is spending towards their creativity.
Right. And that doesn't mean sitting at a coffee shop with your like final draft open interior. Like it's like, but where do your hours come from? Is it like these hours of rehearsal and then this mic that I'm going to and then this time that I'm brainstorming or I'm watching movies for inspiration or, you know, I think people get intimidated. I think the hard thing is that there is no 9 to 5 for acting or performing. So you have to create your own.
It was interesting. I had someone in class, I was coaching somebody the other day and they said like, they just couldn't understand the scene. And then quickly I was like, da, da, da. And they're like, how did you figure that out? And I was like, okay, well, wait, I've been doing this almost every day for 3 decades. And I'm like, it's like, I'm not doing anything magical. You know, if you've been reading thousands of scripts and doing it every day, it just ultimately is like someone who reads, you know, it's like there's a certain degree like reading sheet music.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just think actors, what could they do? Read a lot. Like, what about if you just read a lot of scripts?
Right.
Like, that actually will be helpful to you. We're going to have to end. They're telling me, these producers who let their phone on during...
Because the industry was calling.
The industry was calling.
AKA
No, it was
Elon
Musk. It was Musk.
Well, but because Elon Musk owns the industry
Did you get rehired?
now.
Like everybody? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, they realized that you're essential workers.
Yes, art saves we actually are. We are on the front lines.
We are on the front lines. We are on the front lines.
Put that in writing.
This is the biggest joy ever. I've been wanting you on so much, and I love you.
I love you.
I'm so happy for you.
I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for you in class. Really, truly, like 1000%. You, class, all the people I met and continue to collaborate with. I mean, it's like. Yeah, one of the best joys of my life. Yeah, truly.
Will you please come back on?
I will.
Please come back on. But I could do this for hours, but then, you know, they're telling me to wrap up over here.
All right. I was about to launch into my 30-minute monologue, but that's fine. That's for another day.
We can get that later. Okay. Thank you.
Yay.